The motherboard is the backbone that ties all the PC's components together at one spot and allows them to talk to each other. Without this being installed correctly, all the computer's parts, such as the processor, hard drive and RAM, cannot interact with each other. As with any installation, it is important to prepare your workspace beforehand, clearing any dust and clutter, and having the required tools available. During this part of the PC build, only a Phillips head screwdriver is required, but it may be handy to have some pliers and small cable ties just in case. Now, we are going to install the following components onto the motherboard before fixing into place in our casing: the processor, the cooling fan, the RAM and the graphics card. Place your motherboard face up on your work surface and have these components out of their packaging ready. Firstly, locate the CPU socket on the motherboard. The way the CPU connects to the motherboard differs between Intel and AMD processors, so to be safe, please refer to your motherboard's user guide to ensure you have the correct processor for your installation. In this instance, we have an AMD processor, which is compatible with our motherboard. Gently lift the holding arm on the socket and carefully pick up the CPU from the edges, making sure not to touch the metal contacts. Look for an arrow on one corner of the CPU and then a corresponding marking on the socket to ensure you have the processor the correct way. Once you've got the correct orientation, gently lower the CPU into the socket. There's no need to apply any pressure or push down on the chip, but maybe give a little wiggle to ensure it is seated correctly. Push down on the socket arm to lock it in place. Next, we are going to install our cooling fan. Our fan uses two brackets and a clamp that hold the fan in place. It is advised to add thermal paste on the CPU to aid with the cooling process. We can do this by adding a pea-sized amount onto the CPU before dropping the fan in place. Position the clamp correctly and push down on the lever. Once it's secure, remember to plug in the fan cable into your motherboard and you're done. For the installation of the RAM, it depends on how much you are installing as to which of these slots you use. Here we are installing 2 sticks of 8GB of RAM, so we will be using only 2 of the 4 slots available. Here our motherboard is color-coded. The first 2 sticks will be installed in the 2 blue slots, and any additional RAM installed in the 2 black slots. Pull back the wings on either end of the slot and pick up the RAM, once again being careful not to touch the metal contacts. Each RAM has a groove along the contact edge that needs to line up with the groove in each slot. To do this, firmly push the stick into place. You should hear a click and the wings will pop into place, ensuring the RAM is installed correctly. Repeat for the other stick and we're ready to move on. In the next video, we will cover securing the motherboard in place and installing the graphics card.